Good morning, Cambridge. Hope you are all doing well. Let's begin. All animals need oxygen, including us. Now, we need the oxygen in order to get energy. And we get energy from the oxygen that we breathe, but also the food that we eat. The chemical reactions in our cells use the oxygen, changes the energy in food molecules, and turns it into energy that we can use, that our cells can use. And this is Adriana Aquino. She is an ichthyologist. Try to pronounce that word. Anyway, she works at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. And her job is to discover and classify species of fish. One of these being the armored catfish from South America. It lives in fresh water in rivers and pools. And it's called the armored catfish because of the bony plates that cover its body. And most of these live in fast-flowing rivers. Now, what happens if these armored catfish live in still water or shallow water? Well, there's not a lot of oxygen in the water, so they have other methods. They can go up and take oxygen directly from the air instead of the water, and they can even get air through the walls of their stomachs. Some catfish have been known to live outside the water up to 30 hours. So, how do we classify animals? You've all seen this before. You go to the supermarket, you go to the produce section, you see all these vegetables and fruits, and you notice that they're all split apart. I mean, you got the carrots over here, the oranges over there, lemons, grapefruits, everything is in different areas. Well, animals are plants, and plants are classified pretty much the same way. And this is a Greek philosopher named Aristotle. He was born back in 384 BCE. He was one of the first people to classify organisms. He had a very simple method. He classified all living things into plants and animals. Then he would take the animals and classify them whether they were red-blooded. And as far as plants are concerned, he looked at the shape and the size. And then he would classify the plants whether they were a tree, a shrub, or a bush. About 300 years ago, Carolus Linnaeus, a Swedish physician, botanist, and zoologist, placed all the organisms into two main groups, and he called them kingdoms. But today we go a little bit more detailed. We have what we call a classification method called systematics. We take everything about an organism, the cell type, habitat, where it gets its food and all, molecular analysis. We take all of that and we classify these living things. And using systematics, scientists identified two distinct groups in the kingdom Monera, bacteria and archaea. Later, another domain was created called eukarya. Now, if you look at the bottom of page 342, you'll see the domains and kingdoms from the book, from the copies that I have forwarded over to you. You'll notice that a bacteria is a simple unicellular organism. Archaea are also simple unicellular organisms that live in extreme environments. Then you have eukarya, where you have the protists, fungi, plants, and finally animals. And animals, of course, are multicellular and have to take in their food. Now, Carolus Linnaeus had a system, a naming system that he called binomial nomenclature, which basically he uses a two-word scientific name to name an organism's species. Now, a species is a group of organisms that are similar, and a genus is a group of similar species. Now, the way this works, if you look at the bear that we have here, the brown bear, he belongs to a domain called that we mentioned before, the eukarya. Then below that, he's an animal. Below that, a chordata. Below that, a mammal, the Mammalia class. He's carnivorous, so he's from the carnivora order, the family of Ursidae. Then his genus is Ursus. And finally, the species. He is the brown bear. And the species name for the brown bear is Ursus arctos. Now, if somebody asks you what this is, you may say, well, it's a shark. And a person who knows about sharks would say this is the great white shark. But the scientific name is Carcharodon carcharias. And We use what we call the Dichotomous key to describe an animal. These names come in pairs. It's a scientific name. It's to avoid people saying, well, there's a dog, or there's a cat, or there's a tree. You want to be more specific, and in all species, plants, animals, bacteria, etc., have two-word names, scientific names. Now, you may, for fun, have done your own little family tree, generations of grandparents and parents and so forth. Scientists do the same thing. They use a branched diagram called the cladogram to show the relationship among organisms. For example, in this picture here, you see a chimpanzee and a hamster. They have opposable thumbs. They have fur. They have mammary glands. Then you go further down, you see the lizard and the salamander, and they both have claws or nails. And finally, the salmon. The salmon has lungs. Now, all these animals here have lungs. But of course, the salmon does not have claws, nails, fur, mammary glands, or opposable thumbs. This is a way that scientists can see what animals are more closely related. And this pretty much concludes the chapter, lesson 2 of chapter 9, classifying organisms. Now, you'll probably notice in the pages that I sent you that page 340 is not there. Don't worry about it. Page 340 was an experiment that we are not going to do. Read the pages that I sent you. There are some exercises that you need to do. Answer those questions. There's a little short essay to do. Use that, send it back to me. You can send it back in a Word document in PDF form. I mentioned you could email that to me, as I mentioned before. You could also send it through Edmodo as a screenshot, but I do prefer the email. That way I can check it and get it right back to you. Any questions? Let me know through Edmodo, or just go right ahead and email me. In the meantime, Cambridge, have a good day. Thank you.